guys, it's Nurse Jet, Nurse in the Truth. I hope everyone's having a great day. So this is a, I guess, backup video of the Hezekiah video of earlier today about him having an Egyptian seal. So if you go to study.com, it kind of gives you a little bit about a little bit of the history of the background of the monarchy, quote unquote. Now, the kingdom of Judea, they say that the monarchy, the united monarchy, split into two kingdoms, the north and south. And that, quote unquote, this Rehoboam built fortifications around the major cities, which that's a lie, because King Pharaoh Tutmosis III is the one that built up the fortifications and the walls. Now, according to the Hebrew Bible, the kings of Judea stopped worshiping the Hebrew God Yahweh as the sole God and worship gods from other religions as well. And this is given that the reason of Jerusalem fell. Okay. So that's the reason. Could it be any other reason at all why they fell? Is it because of their own stupidity, or they weren't listening, or they just didn't do things a certain way and the other people didn't like it and they got invaded? I mean, is it a situation as of today, if the Muslims quit worshiping Allah, which is just another word for God, okay, or whatever Elohim they want to worship. So just say, would it be Syria's fault if they quit worshiping Allah and then the United States comes over there and starts bombing them to hell and back? Is it their fault because they quit worshiping Allah? Is this a problem? Because let me tell you, I do believe they're still worshiping Allah, and we still came in and bombed them, and they're still worshiping Allah today. So do you see the stupidity in that? So the Hebrew people quit worshiping Yahweh, and that's why this empire fell. So, like I said, if the Syrians quit worshiping Allah, that's the reason why we went in and bombed the hell out of them. It's just a scribe in a pen with ink, people. So, as they say, Judea passed in and out of other empires, and under Rehoboam, Judea was a vassal state. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Judea was a vassal state controlled by Egypt. This is what they're saying. I've been telling you this all along. His grandson, Asa, was able to restore, quote, the true Israeli power in Judea and prevented the return of Egyptian and Ethiopian, I'll get it right, empires, which that's a lie, because it's going to go back and tell you something different in a few minutes. So it's saying that they were able to restore power in Judea and prevent the return of Egyptian empires. Okay? Keep that in the back of your head. In the 7th century BCE, Judea entered into an alliance with the Assyrian Empire, who wanted to make Judea a vassal under its protection. In this time, Judea prospered and grew, and the capital was moved to Jerusalem, which became one of the largest cities in the region. Still, under archaeological evidence by Israel Finkelstein in the book Bible Unearthed, and a lot of secular historians that are archaeologists cannot find and has not found anything. So, when Judea was under Egypt's grasp, then Assyria comes in, right? The Assyrian came and took over Egypt. Okay? Now, around 610 BCE, the Assyrian Empire fell to eternal weakness and powerful enemies. Remember I told you that the Assyrians came in, they stole a lot of Egypt's wealth, gold, doors off the damn temples. And what is funny is when they talk about this stuff as it's Israel's temple, it talks about the same thing. We're talking gold and wealth and gold doors right off the damn hinges, people. And the Syrians wrote about it, and the Egyptians wrote about it. So whose temple are you ripping up? Are you ripping up Egypt's temple to Amun-Ra, or are you ripping temples to Yahweh? You decide. Now, Egypt regained control of the kingdom of Judea for a short time. But in 605 BCE, the kingdom of Judea, Jehoiakim, started paying tribute to Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon in the hopes that Babylon would defeat Egypt. Okay, so let's backtrack. Egypt has control over Israel. Assyria comes in, takes control over Judea, ransacks Egypt. Egypt gets Judea back again. These players of the day wanted Babylon over them, so they start paying tribute to Babylon. So Babylon gets their horses and chariots and their men together, and they take over the vassal part of Egypt, which is Judea. But when they come knocking at the door of the strongest nation on earth, they got their asses handed to them, and the Babylonians went back with their tails tucked between their legs. So, don't say that Babylon conquered Egypt, because, brothers and sisters, when you put this fake book to historical documentations of the day, and you have this stuff chiseled in stone, and no one can get rid of it except a blast of concrete, you must look inside of yourself and say, who are the players? Who are the liars? Because this rabbit hole goes very deep. And if you're not willing to get on the slide and travel down to the portal of the depths of this crooked story, then I'm sorry. And if you want to keep fighting for your religion, go right ahead. But I'm here to expose history, not his story. Now, when this Jehoiakim started paying tribute to Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon in the hopes that Babylon would defeat Egypt, Nebuchadnezzar invaded Egypt, but failed to overthrow the Pharaoh. See, I didn't even read this, and I'm telling you because I know the story. And he he failed to overthrow the Pharaoh. And Judea went back to paying tribute as a vassal to Egypt. And Nebuchadnezzar, enraged at the betrayal, laid siege to Jerusalem in 599 BCE. So, the lies, you see, this article, Shalom, introduction of Israel history, first states that Asa was able to restore true Israeli power in Judea and prevented the return of Egyptian and Ethiopian empires. But, dear friends, the empire of Egypt, even though Assyria came and took over, they prevailed and they came back and got their part of the land for a short time. Then these suckers that was in that area kept playing around and then backbiting towards Egypt and was paying the Babylonians, and they came and was whittling around. And then they came and knocked at the door, and the Pharaoh says, "You are not welcomed here. You are not welcomed." And they tucked tail. And then Judea went back to paying tribute as a vassal state. And boy, this enraged Nebuchadnezzar at the betrayal of all of this and laid siege. And I told you at the Battle of Carchemish, they were coming. And the Pharaoh was coming because they called. And Isaiah is making it look like a trick bag 22 situation. And Hezekiah, the king of Judea, was with Egypt. And he was pro-Egypt. And he was calling them. And they were coming to his rescue. And they came. But they were overwhelmed. The Babylonians were overwhelming them 10-1. But the Egyptians never gave up heart. They tried. They tried and they tried. And this King Josiah was murdered in the crosshairs. This Pharaoh did not murder him. He just says, "Get out of the way, my brother. I am not here to harm you." And the bows and arrows just started flying. And it got into his chest. And he died, and they took him off and buried him with his fathers. But you see, the writers of the day had to make Egypt look like the bad guy. I challenge you. I challenge you to go read your history, the real story of Egypt's story. It's concocted, it's twisted, it's a pack of lies for the den of thieves that they've taken and they've twisted it around. They've stolen ancient artifacts. They've stolen Sumerian artifacts and Babylon artifacts and Egyptian artifacts and Greek artifacts, and they've twisted it into a nice story, and they fed it to you, and now you will kill, steal, and destroy for this textbook that is nothing but garbage, because the real origins are in Samaria and Egypt. King Hezekiah, he was a great king for Egypt. It's sad. The only thing that we have of any sustenance is a ring, a seal, a bullah, a stamp of approval. You cannot be an Israel, Judah king of a kingdom and sign things with an Egyptian seal. Do you know how stupid that is? That's almost like me taking a stamp of China and writing to the presidents of the United States that's in the States, and I'm stamping it with a Chinese seal. The correspondence that goes from Judea to Egypt was united. Akhenaten, the heretic king, was even writing to Jerusalem, and they were writing back. He had the vast amount of area. So don't tell me that I don't know my history, and you better not get on my channel saying I'm crazy, because you cannot. By no stretch of the imagination, you're going to come at me and say that I'm making this up when you need to do this research yourself. Search the scriptures and you will see that the pharaohs of Egypt are all in this book. And then when you take this book and you rip it apart, sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, and then you go into the history books of Egypt or Babylon, Assyria, and you start digging, you're going, God, how have I been so deceived by these players? So, Babylon was ramshacked. Jerusalem was ramshacked by Babylon. And because they didn't listen to this God, whoever it is, an Anunnaki or a reptilian, Enlil, whatever it is, whomever it is, a man, I don't care, and sends them off because that's what the Bible says. But this evil God sends them off into a cattle herd behind the bars. But then Cyrus the Great comes in and delivers the prisoners under the auspices of Marduk, which is Enki's son. So, written in history on a cylinder seal, in Cyrus the Great's own hand, no bloodshed, no swords drawn. Marduk wanted them to have a place. He wanted education. Babylon was one of the greatest learning centers of all time, besides ancient Egypt, my love, of course. So until next time, guys, Hotep and Ashe, And please, search your scriptures, search your history books, not what they give you, other sources, of course. And always know that when you search for truth, the truth will and shall set you free. Have a great evening, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.